Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance.
The miracle, or the power that elevates the few, is to be found in their industry, application, and perseverance, under the prompting of a brave, determined spirit. Mark Twain didn't know it, but those words describe our next award recipient and the client he serves to miraculous effect. On any given day, Robert Hollingsworth and Bob O. can be found at the McKnight House in Maplewood, Minnesota. They're often called the two Bobs, but to avoid confusion tonight, we'll refer to our winner as Robert and his client as Bob. Robert is a direct support professional. He arrives at the McKnight House around 2:30 p.m. and immediately checks on his clients. He puts together a meal plan for the house. Perhaps he accompanies Bob to occupational therapy. Bob is probably writing in his 5th volume of journals. There's a good chance he's planning one of his regular dinners at Red Lobster with his friends. These days, Bob walks into the restaurant with just a cane. His walker is no longer needed. Sounds pretty ordinary, right? That's just the point. In this case, it's the ordinary that is absolutely extraordinary. And it's a far cry from where these two men began together 4 years ago. Diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a disorder that incites the body to attack its own nervous system, Bob had given up hope of ever gaining his mobility or independence. Paralysis left him without the use of his body. He could talk and breathe, but he needed assistance for everything else. Then he moved to the McKnight House and met Robert Hollingsworth. I had hopes that Bob could make significant improvement, explains Robert. I guess I wanted to see what we could do. The first step was a physical therapy evaluation, and that led Bob to physical, occupational, and swimming therapy. Robert videotaped the exercises so McKnight staff could work with Bob at home. Within a month, he had started to gain some movement in his hands. Bob was always about setting measurable, achievable goals, says Robert. He didn't believe he would ever walk again. So I said, don't worry about walking. Let's just worry about picking up a fork. A few months after that, Bob could feed himself. And he moved into an electric wheelchair, which he could power on his own. Soon he was writing. Progress was steady, so Bob set a major goal. He wanted to walk again. Robert was there when he took his first steps in about 4 years. 10 steps became 20 steps, and then hundreds of feet. He started using a walker to practice at home and eventually in the community. On September 24, 2011, Bob reached an awe-inspiring personal milestone. He walked 5 kilometers to raise money for the Brain Injury Association of Minnesota. Remember Mark Twain's criteria for miracles: industry, application, and perseverance. But it's the brave, determined spirit that makes those miracles possible. And that spirit is sitting right here among us. It's a spirit that inspired by humor, hard work, and old-time rock and roll. This spirit likes to enjoy life. When Robert's not at the McKnight House, he's cutting up the rug to live music with his girlfriend. His feet start tapping when he hears the Beatles, the Stones, and the Doors, and sometimes Bob Dylan. I can keep a beat, Robert offers, in a moment of uncharacteristic swagger. It's a good workout. And it's a great way to recharge his batteries. Robert is constantly reevaluating and reinventing his approach to supporting others. People are dynamic. They change and they grow, he says. You can't get too set in your ways. Sound advice from a guy who's driven forklifts and taxis, served 6 years in the Navy, and ran databases for a big company. And yet he rates the job he has now as the one that has given him the greatest satisfaction. I guess I enjoy exceeding in the overall goal of improving people's day-to-day experience, he says. It shows. I know that when he wakes up in the morning, Robert thinks of us and thinks what he will do to make our lives better that day. He's selfless, says a McKnight client. Of course, he dismisses any kudos. I don't think I'm remarkable. I just have a little bit of a stubborn streak. On this, we'll give Bob the last word. Our relationship is so special and unique, he explains. Without him, in all honesty, I would have given up a long time ago. I love him very much, and I will be forever grateful to him. Robert, for seeing the possibilities where others saw none, for applying your stubborn streak to the profound life-changing benefit of others, and for doing it all with humility, humor, and respect for those you serve. I'm proud to present you with the Ripple of Hope Award.